Hey there. Ready to like totally decode those actuarial consulting interviews? We're diving deep into this field where, math and strategy collide,
Mhm.
and you get to be the one like predicting those financial futures.
It's a field that really demands, sharp minds and even sharper interview skills, right?
For sure. But no worries, we've got your back. We're going to unpack real interview questions, right? We're going to give you the inside scoop from RoleCatcher's Career Guide and show you how their AI tools can like seriously give you an edge.
Oh, yeah, these tools are like game changers.
Okay, so let's just jump right into it with this question. How did you become interested in actuarial science? Seems like a simple one, right?
It does, right? But they're definitely looking for more than I just love numbers.
Totally. So what are they looking for?
They want to see that passion, Don't just tell them you like math. Tell them about a specific class or a project, something that really sparked your interest in using data to solve problems. Like, did you analyze, I don't know, trends in like school election or something? Or maybe a news story about like insurance payouts. Did that like totally fascinate you?
It's all about connecting the dots for them.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's crank it up a notch with this one. Can you explain a complex actuarial concept to someone like with zero background in the field?
Right.
Are they expecting us to be like professors after listening to this deep dive?
Think of it more like, translate. They're checking out your communication skills here, right? Can you break down these super complex ideas into like bite-sized pieces? For example, you could explain, I don't know, risk assessment, but use the analogy of a weather forecast, right? You're using data to predict those future financial storms. Oh, I like that. That's a really good analogy. Okay, now onto a question that's all about staying ahead of the curve, right? How do you stay up to date with changes in the actuarial field? Things move so fast in tech, but I'm guessing the actuarial world has its own like rapid evolutions.
Oh, absolutely. This
Yeah.
question, it's testing your commitment to keep learning, to stay current, you
Yeah.
know? So
Hmm.
mention professional journals like the Actuary magazine. There are also like industry conferences like the SOA annual meeting. You can even mention online forums where you like discuss emerging trends with other actuaries.
Show them you're not living in the past with an outdated textbook.
Exactly. Show them you're on top of it.
And speaking of staying current, RoleCatcher's AI can actually analyze job descriptions to like pinpoint the exact skills employers want like right now. It's like having a crystal ball for interview prep.
Totally. It takes out all the guesswork. Plus, their AI can give you feedback on your practice responses. It's like having a mock interview with like a pro who fine-tunes your delivery and content. It's like having a secret weapon.
Yeah.
Okay, let's dive into this next question. Can you describe a time when you had to, communicate complex actuarial concepts to a non-technical audience? How did you approach it? Feels like communication is like key in this field.
Oh, it's essential, especially in consulting. Remember the STAR method?
Yeah.
Situation, task, action, result. So maybe you had to explain like insurance premium calculations to a client. And this client, they weren't familiar with all the, underlying math. Describe how you use clear language and like relatable examples to get the message across.
So it's about bridging that gap between like data and decision making. Love it. Now, this one sounds like a real world challenge. How do you ensure your work is, error free?
Mhm.
And in a field where precision is everything, I bet that's a big one.
Big time. Here, they want to see your meticulous side. So highlight your system for double checking, right? Maybe you use software for verification. Or you're all about peer reviews. Like you could say, I'm all about documenting everything. I verify formulas, I reference industry standards, and I'm a big believer in getting a second pair of eyes on my work. So I regularly ask colleagues to do peer reviews.
Showing them you have a system that shows you're serious about accuracy.
For sure.
Okay, time for a teamwork question. Can you describe a time when you had to collaborate with a team to complete an actuarial project? Because, teamwork makes the dream work, or something like that.
Right. Choose a project where, collaboration was essential. Maybe you worked on a risk assessment model with a team and everyone had their own specialty. Describe your role, how you communicated, how you guys like overcame challenges to reach that shared goal.
Highlighting those soft skills is just as crucial as the hard skills, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, this one seems pretty technical. Can you describe a time when you had to use like advanced statistical methods to solve a business problem? How deep into the technical weeds should someone go here?
You don't need to write a textbook, right? But be ready to throw in some specific methods like regression analysis to find correlations in the data, or maybe Monte Carlo simulations to model different outcomes. Just briefly explain how these methods, provided insights.
Got it. So it's about striking that balance, right? Show off your expertise, but keep it digestible for the interviewer.
Oh.
Okay, now let's talk about dealing with uncertainty. Can you describe a time when you had to make a recommendation based on incomplete or ambiguous data? Because, let's face it, the real world is messy, right? Not everything is always crystal clear.
Totally. This question is all about your judgment, your resourcefulness. Talk about a situation where you had limited data. Acknowledge the limitations, but still, made a well-reasoned recommendation. Maybe even mention that further investigation is needed.
Shows you can handle the gray areas.
Right. Exactly.
And speaking of navigating, RoleCatcher's AI can analyze your experience and match you with jobs that fit your skills. Talk about taking the guesswork out of your job search.
Like having a personalized career counselor right in your pocket. Okay, let's tackle this leadership question. Can you describe a time when you had to manage a team of actuaries on, like, a complex project? How did you make sure everyone stayed on track and met deadlines? Sounds like a lot of responsibility.
It does. It feels like a balancing act, right?
Yeah.
You need leadership, expertise, and maybe even a little bit of that motivational magic. How can someone answer this authentically without, sounding like they're bragging?
It's all in the approach. So describe how you delegated tasks based on people's strengths.
Right.
How you fostered open communication, and,
Mm-hmm.
how you provided support to keep everyone motivated and aligned with the goals.
So it's more about being a conductor than a one-man band.
Exactly.
Okay, let's talk communication again. Can you describe a time when you had to explain, actuarial concepts to a client or stakeholder who didn't really get the field? How did you ensure they grasped those key takeaways? This seems to be a recurring theme.
Communication is king, right? So this question highlights your ability to, tailor your message to your audience. Describe how you use maybe analogies, visuals, or even storytelling to make those complex ideas more accessible and relevant.
It's all about meeting them where they are.
Love it.
Okay, switching gears to a question that often trips people up. Can you walk us through a specific example of a time when you caught an error, like in your work or maybe someone else's? What steps did you take to correct it, and what did you learn? This one feels like a potential landmine.
It could be, but it's also a chance to really show off your attention to detail. Choose an example where you spotted the error early, right? Maybe during a routine check or while reviewing a colleague's work. Explain the steps you took, but really emphasize the positive outcome, like you prevented a bigger issue or you improved a process.
Turning a negative into a positive? I like it. Okay, let's dive into the world of juggling priorities. How do you handle working on multiple projects at once, especially when those deadlines are tight and priorities are shifting? Can you give me an example? Sounds like, the daily grind for most people these days.
Oh, for sure. Choose a time when you, successfully managed a super demanding workload. Highlight your organizational skills. Maybe you use specific tools or techniques. Did you delegate effectively? How did you adapt to those shifting deadlines?
It's about showing them you can stay cool under pressure.
Exactly.
Speaking of staying organized, RoleCatcher's AI can even help you track your progress on those professional certifications, like the SOA exams. Those are crucial in the actuarial field, right?
Oh, yeah, super important.
It's like having a personal cheerleader, but also a taskmaster, all in one.
Keeps you on track.
Okay, let's talk about a question that needs a delicate touch. Can you describe a time when you had to disagree with your supervisor or a client on, an actuarial matter? How did you handle it? What was the outcome? Feels like this could go south quickly if you're not careful.
Definitely. It's about showing how you handle conflict. So describe how you approached it respectfully. Did you come with data and analysis? What was your communication style like?
The key is to show that you aimed for a win-win solution.
Finding that common ground is key.
Absolutely.
Okay, last question. The actuarial field is always changing, right? What are you doing to stay updated on those latest trends, technologies, regulations? It's a question that applies to any career, but especially one as dynamic as this.
Right. Don't just rattle off generic sources, Get
Yeah.
specific. Mention actual articles you read, conferences you attended, online courses you took, maybe something in predictive modeling or risk management software.
It shows that you're actively seeking out knowledge, that you're genuinely invested.
Exactly. And that passion, that's what employers love to see. Okay, I think we've covered a ton today. But before we wrap up, we have one more crucial topic. Asking insightful questions during your interview.
It's your turn to shine.
Okay, let's take a quick pause, gather our thoughts, and then we'll dive into the art of asking those killer questions that wow the hiring manager. Stay tuned.
And we're back. Ready to dive even deeper into this whole actuarial consulting world. We've hit those tough interview questions, but now let's shift gears. Explore the career path itself.
It's a career path with some serious growth potential. We're talking responsibility, earning potential, the whole package.
And speaking of earning potential, let's talk numbers. What drives those salary ranges in this field?
So according to RoleCatcher's Career Guide, experience level is like a huge factor. Obviously, right? But it's not just that. We're talking location, the specific industry, company size, and those certifications, those are huge. Like actuaries in those big, expensive cities, they're going to earn more, right? And those specialized certifications, like from the SOA or the CAS, those can mean serious bucks because that expertise is in high demand. So it's a whole bunch of things, but the takeaway is clear. If you want a career that's intellectually stimulating, A&D pays well. Actuarial consulting checks both boxes. But it's not just about the money, right? This career is about using your skills to help businesses navigate all that complex financial stuff and make, informed decisions that can really impact their success.
For sure. It's about making a real difference, in the financial well-being of these organizations. And think about it, maybe you will be the one assessing the risks of those self-driving cars or creating new insurance products for all those cutting-edge technologies.
Speaking of cutting-edge tech, let's circle back to RoleCatcher's AI platform. We've talked about how it analyzes job descriptions, but what about presenting your qualifications?
That's where their AI-powered CV and resume builder comes in. It's like this tool helps you tailor your resume to what actuarial consulting roles are looking for. It finds those keywords, optimizes your content, makes sure your skills and experience really pop. And that's crucial in such a competitive job market. You got to stand out.
It's like having a personal branding expert.
Yeah.
Just making your resume super attractive to recruiters.
Exactly. Now, let's get back to those interview questions, shall we? We talked about handling the technical stuff, but what about those curveballs that test your problem-solving skills?
Okay, hit me with one. How do they even assess problem solving in like an actuarial context?
Okay, imagine this. You're on a project, right? And you hit this super complex statistical problem, something you've never seen before. How do you find a solution? See, this question, it goes beyond just knowing the technical stuff. It's about how you think critically, how you use your resources, and if you can handle those unfamiliar challenges.
So it's not about having all the answers, but knowing how to get them. What does a strong answer even sound like for this one?
A strong answer. It shows you've got a system. You could say something like, first, I'd really dig into the problem, research it thoroughly, maybe consult textbooks, academic journals, even reach out to some experts in the field. Then I'd break down the problem into smaller, manageable chunks. I'd make a plan to tackle each part, step by step. And of course, document everything, my findings, assumptions, the whole shebang.
It shows you're resourceful, organized, and not afraid to ask for help when you need it.
Exactly. And that you're not just winging it, you've got a process for even the toughest problems. Now, let's shift gears to another biggie in actuarial work. Accuracy. This field, precision is everything.
Which brings us to this question. Can you walk me through a specific example of a time when you caught an error? Maybe in your work, maybe someone else's. What did you do to fix it, and what did you learn?
This one feels, I don't know, like you could easily say the wrong thing. You've got to find the balance, right? Honesty, but also positive. So don't pick a time where you messed up big time. Focus on a smaller error, something you caught early on. It shows you pay attention to detail and you care about accuracy.
Positive spin on a potentially negative experience.
Exactly. For example, you could say, I was looking over a data set, right? Checking for anything weird. And I noticed something off about how some variables were coded, so I flagged it right away, retraced my steps, figured out where it went wrong, then boom, implemented a new coding system to keep things consistent moving forward.
So you're highlighting your proactive approach to quality control. And your ability to learn from mistakes, whether they're yours or someone else's, shows commitment.
And that you're not afraid to point out problems, which is huge in a collaborative field like actuarial consulting. Now let's talk about another challenge in consulting. Juggling multiple projects at once.
The juggling act. I bet that's a key skill for actuaries, especially as they climb the ladder.
Absolutely. Which is why you might get this question. How do you handle working on multiple projects simultaneously, especially when deadlines are tight and priorities change? Can you give me an example?
So you can't just say, oh, I'm a multitasking rock star. You got to back it up with a real story, right?
Yeah, exactly. Pick a time where you successfully handled a crazy workload, maybe when priorities shifted unexpectedly. Describe the projects you were juggling, talk about any deadline clashes or surprise challenges. Then, really focus on what you did to stay organized and keep things on track. Did you use any specific project management tools or techniques? How did you prioritize? Did you keep everyone in the loop?
Oh, great points. And it sounds like organization is like the magic word here.
Mhm.
Speaking of organization, I'm curious, how can RoleCatcher's AI tools help candidates stay organized throughout their job search?
Great question. One of their coolest features is the network management tool. Think of it like a CRM, but for your career. You can organize your contacts, keep track of your conversations, even link them to specific job applications all in one place.
So it's all about streamlining the job search and making those networking efforts really count.
Precisely. Now, let's shift gears again, this time to a crucial part of consulting communication, especially when it comes to disagreements.
Okay, yeah, that's important. I mean, it's going to happen, right? You'll have to push back on a client's request or disagree with a colleague's approach. It's inevitable.
Definitely. That's why interviewers often ask questions like, can you describe a time when you had to disagree with a supervisor or client about an actuarial matter? How did you handle the situation and what was the outcome?
That sounds like a minefield. It's one thing to disagree, but it's another to do it professionally and not burn bridges. How can someone even answer this without sounding like a jerk?
It's all about showing you can handle conflict constructively. So think about a time when you disagreed with a supervisor or client on a professional level, when your views clashed. Then walk them through how you addressed it. Did you schedule a meeting? Did you come prepared with data or analysis? And how did you get your point across while staying respectful?
So it's like a mix of planning, clear communication, and really aiming for a solution that works for everyone.
You got it. Now let's switch gears one more time to a question that checks if you're keeping up with the times in this, ever-changing field.
Right, because this field moves fast. What kind of question are we talking about here?
Be ready for this. The actuarial field is constantly changing. What steps are you taking to stay current with the latest trends, technologies, and regulations? And they don't just want to hear you list a bunch of journals or conferences. They want specifics.
You got to prove you're actively learning, not just passively keeping up. How can someone make their answer really stand out?
Instead of just saying, I read industry journals, mention a particular article that got you thinking. Or instead of, oh, I attend conferences, talk about a presentation that inspired you to try a new technique.
It's the details that make the difference. Show them you're not just absorbing information, but applying it, and always looking for ways to learn and grow.
Exactly. It shows genuine curiosity and passion, and that's gold to employers. Now let's get a little more philosophical and talk about your ethical compass.
Ethics. Huge in any profession,
Yeah.
but especially when you're dealing with people's money and sensitive information.
Absolutely. So be prepared for a question like, can you describe a situation where you faced an ethical dilemma at work or maybe in school? How did you approach it? And what factors influenced your decision?
This one requires some serious introspection. It's easy to say, I always do the right thing. But in real life, ethical dilemmas are rarely black and white.
So true. Pick an example that shows how you handle those tricky situations. Maybe you saw a colleague breaking the rules, or you had to choose between two competing priorities. Just briefly set the scene, focusing on the heart of that ethical dilemma.
And then walk them through your thought process, right?
Mm.
Did you look at any ethical guidelines? Did you get advice from someone you trust? Did you think about the consequences of each choice?
All super important. By explaining how you reached your decision, you're showing your ethical awareness and your ability to make tough calls, even in those gray areas.
And don't be afraid to admit it was a complex situation. Sometimes there are no easy answers, and that's okay. What matters is that you can show a thoughtful, principled approach.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Now, how about we lighten things up and talk about you, your passions and interests outside of work?
Right. Got to show them you're more than just a number-crunching machine.
Exactly. Interviewers love to ask, what are your interests outside of work? Or what are you passionate about?
Those questions might seem random, but they're actually really important.
They give a glimpse into who you are, your values, what makes you tick. They want to know you're a well-rounded person, not just someone who lives and breathes spreadsheets.
Show them you have a life outside the office.
Exactly. So think about what really gets you excited outside of work. Volunteering, reading, photography, sports, whatever it is, don't be shy.
Just be prepared to explain how those activities make your life richer, you know? And if you can connect them back to skills that are relevant to the job, even better.
For sure. Maybe your chess obsession made you a strategic thinker, or your love of languages made you a better communicator.
See? Those connections, even if they seem small, show that your interests contribute to who you are as a professional.
Exactly. Now remember, this is just a taste of what you might encounter in an actuarial consulting interview. Every company, every role, every interviewer is different.
But by knowing these common themes, practicing your answers, and using those awesome RoleCatcher tools, you'll be well equipped to knock their socks off.
And speaking of RoleCatcher, let's talk about one of their most innovative features. Get discovered.
Get discovered. Okay, that has a nice ring to it. Tell me more.
It's like having your own personal headhunter working for you around the clock. So you create a profile in RoleCatcher, put in your skills and experience, and the AI gets to work. It matches you with employers who are actively looking for someone just like you.
Wow, so instead of just firing off applications and hoping for the best, you're basically saying, hey, I've got the goods. Come and get me.
Exactly. It flips the script on traditional job hunting and puts you in the driver's seat. And it's not just about being seen by anyone. It's about being seen by the right companies, the ones that are actually looking for your specific talents.
That's a game changer. And think of all the time and energy you save, especially when you're already juggling interview prep, and life.
Totally. And speaking of saving time and energy, RoleCatcher also has this other awesome feature that often gets overlooked, the master interview tool.
We talked about their practice questions before, but what else does this tool do?
Oh, it goes way beyond just practice questions. Their AI gives you feedback on your answers, yeah, but you can also do mock interviews with video for a super realistic experience. Imagine getting feedback on your body language, your tone, everything, all from home.
That's seriously impressive, like having a personal interview coach on demand.
Exactly. And the best part, RoleCatcher has a free version with access to tons of these tools. So no excuses. Give it a shot.
I love that they're making this accessible to everyone.
That's what's great about them. Their mission is to help everyone succeed in their job hunt, and their platform really shows it.
Well, I don't know about you, but I'm feeling super inspired. All these interview tips, the career insights, it's a lot to take in.
Me too. It's pretty amazing what technology like RoleCatcher can do to help people reach their career goals.
Okay, we've covered a ton of ground, from those tricky interview questions to the ins and outs of actuarial consulting and how to stand out in this job market. But before we wrap up this deep dive, there's one more crucial thing to cover: asking smart questions during your interview.
It's your time to shine.
Okay, let's take a breath, gather our thoughts, and then we'll tackle the art of asking those killer questions that'll impress those hiring managers. Stay tuned. And we're back, ready to, master the art of asking those insightful questions during your interview. This is your chance to dig deep and, really make an impression.
It's a total power move that most people don't even think about. It's like you're interviewing them to see if they're the right fit for you.
I love that. Okay, so how do we come up with questions that make us sound, smart and engaged and not clueless?
First, ditch those generic questions like, how's the work-life balance here? The ones everyone asks. Show them you've done your research. Like, you could say, hey, I read that you guys started using some new risk management software. What's the impact been like for the actuarial team?
Ooh, now that shows you're paying attention.
Right. You can also ask about, your own growth, but instead of just asking about training, you could be like, I'm really interested in predictive modeling. Are there opportunities to specialize in that here?
Subtle, but effective. You're showing ambition, ND getting information. Now, we've all been in those interviews where the company culture seems awesome on paper, but something feels off, Any tips for sniffing that out?
Oh, totally. Ask about the day-to-day stuff. Like, can you describe how the team collaborates and shares knowledge? Or how does the company support continuous learning and development?
Okay, so you're getting at those team dynamics, seeing if their values match yours. Smart. Now, career progression. How do we ask about growth potential without sounding like we're already planning our escape?
Focus on the big picture. Like, what are the company's big goals for the next year? How does this team contribute?
Shows you're thinking strategically, not just about yourself. What about asking the interviewer about their own experience? Is that cool?
Totally. It shows you're interested and helps you connect. You could say, what's it been like for you working here? Any advice for someone starting out?
It's like getting the inside scoop. So to wrap up, asking good questions at the end of your interview, it's about
Showing off your research, showing ambition, figuring out the culture, understanding growth opportunities, and making a personal connection.
Wow, who knew it was so strategic? Well, that's a wrap on this deep dive into actuarial consulting interviews.
It's been fun.
Huge thanks to our expert for all the amazing insights. And to our listeners, we're rooting for you. Go get them. Until next time, happy job hunting.